Welcome to the Potential Leader Lab. I'm your host, Perry Moffmer, and today on episode 70, we're going to talk about, I'll just give you the title. I fail often and gloriously. That's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about the brutal truth of failure. I fail a lot, as the title said. Fail a lot. More than anybody sees. And like all of us, I fail in public. I fail far more in private. And what I mean by that is, I don't share all the expectations I have with everything that I do, but oftentimes I'm failing to live up to my own expectations of either behavior or performance or whatever I'm doing. So I think for all of us, our public failures are a small percentage of our actual failures, because I think we all fail to live up to things that we've said we wanted to do for ourselves that many, many people don't see, which is okay too. But I fail more often than I succeed. And I think if you're honest, so do you. The problem is, as a society, we've been conditioned to fear failure, avoid it, or worse yet, pretend it doesn't happen. And the challenge is for most of us, if we're working for a living and we want to get better at something, we don't get the chance to practice very infrequently. We have to fail. We have to learn as we go. We have to learn in real time. We have to apply new behaviors in real time. And that's a very scary thing. It's a great learning environment, but it's a scary thing. And so what happens is language, as you know, I believe language matters. And so we try to back off. We try to negate the impact. We don't say I failed. We say, I screwed up. I fell short. I didn't quite make it. And we soften that word because what we fear is the weight. We fear the weight of failing. But here's the thing. Failure is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. Because our world does not celebrate failure. It rewards the illusion of constant success. We award the illusion of constant success. And what I mean by that is, take a look at the world. Take a look at social media. What do you see? You see everybody's curated life on there. That is all of their wonder and magic and success and living their best life and all that stuff. So we have emboldened ourselves and those around us to think that's reality. It's not reality. That's the illusion of constant success. Nobody lives like that. But real growth, real mastery comes from falling on your face and getting up again. There's an old adage that says, fall down 6 times, get up 7. That's life. Life is not fun. Life is not sunshine and rainbows. Life is tough. Life is hard. There's this great book called Life is Hard. And it should be, because anything meaningful in life is. Any meaningful thing you're going to do is hard, requires effort. But I want you to, if you got a pencil, if you're not driving, if you got something, or clip this or whatever, failure is not a detour. It is the path. It is the only path. Failure is not a detour. It's the only path. It's the path to growth. It's the path to learning. It's the path to sustainable and scalable success. It is the path. Now, here's why we fear failure. Well, one is societal programming. We're programmed from a very early age to fear failure because the education system, it drills into us things like get it right or you're wrong, fail and you're behind, struggle means you're not smart. So from a very young age, we're taught to fear mistakes instead of learning from them. Because it doesn't feel good to fail. When you get graded, it doesn't feel good. I mean, to a certain extent, in our school system, most of them, I'm going to say all of them, but my experience in them is grades replace growth. We're not really looking for growth. I mean, even now, we're looking for test scores. We're not looking for genuine growth. We're not looking to build capacity. We're looking for test scores. So straight A's don't mean that you understand. It means you mastered the game of school. That's what I was really good at as a kid. I was good at school. There were expectations. I knew exactly what to do. I knew if I learned this and put these answers on there, I got this grade. Now, I think you could all agree that ain't the way the world works when you get out of school. There's a lot of ambiguity in the world. So a lot of times you're not even clear on what the game is. You don't know who's keeping score. keeping score doesn't matter because the scorekeeper decides and changes what scores mean. I'm just using all these metaphors, right? So we don't prepare people for life. The system that's built on rewards perfection, not resilience. That we don't reward grit. And grit is an unwavering determination and perseverance and passion to pursue long-term goals, even in the face of challenges and setbacks. That's grit. That could be quite possibly the most important thing we should teach people, because we will fall down. Do we teach people to have the capacity to get back up? Because that system rewards perfection, not resilience. And then we go to the workplace, and failure becomes dangerous. We take this conditioning into adulthood, and then we get these mantras in our head: don't take risks, don't challenge the norm, don't admit when you don't know something, because the world tells you if you fail, you're weak. That's what the world tells us. If you fail, you're weak, because only all the strong people, all the smart people, they're successful. They don't fail. But the opposite is actually true. And we all know this. This is the most paradoxical thing about this. We all know deep down inside what the truth is, but we buy into the lie. We let the lie run our lives. Because the most successful, impactful, world-changing people are the people who fail constantly. Because they're pushing their knowledge. They're always pushing to the point of failure, because a growth mindset requires that we push to failure. Now, we're also fighting our biology, to be quite candid with you. So we're fighting on all fronts. And I think militarily they'll tell you, don't fight a war on two fronts. We're fighting a war on two fronts. We're fighting society, we're fighting programming, and then we're fighting our biology. And we're stuck in the middle. Because your brain, there's nothing wrong with your brain, and because it's doing exactly as it was designed to do evolutionarily. It's keeping you safe, which is what it was designed to do. It wasn't designed to live in 2025. It stopped developing, depending on what you read, 20 to 50,000 years ago. So it is built to exist in that world, not this one. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not serving you. And if you're not aware of that, you're a passenger on the train, not the conductor. Because you think you're thinking, but you're not. So our fear of failure is biological. I mean, the amygdala, it treats social failure like a survival threat, because if we go back 30,000 years, if you failed, you died. If you weren't successful in the hunt, if you got cast out of the group, if any of those things, if you guessed wrong on what plant was edible and what wasn't, all of those failures were fatal back then. As far as I know, not fatal now. I'm not saying nobody's making life or death decisions during the course of the day, but on average, everybody listening to this and me talking about it, we're not facing life and death challenges every day as far as failure goes. We're talking about evolving to the best version of ourselves, which is not life or death, but our brain and therefore our body treat it like that. Because evolutionarily, rejection meant death. So we avoid failure because it feels like rejection, and rejection equals death. It doesn't, but it feels like that, unless we're telling ourselves unless we've written a different script for ourselves, unless we define another narrative. Because we have dopamine and cortisol. That's a trap we're stuck in. Success equals dopamine, which is validation, feeling worthy, reward chemical, pursuit chemical. Then we have failure, which gives us cortisol, which is stress and discomfort, and I don't feel like I'm enough, and all of those things. And we become addicted to success because it feels better. Biologically. And this just plays out every time. I mean, human beings realize real quickly what feels good and what doesn't. And we pursue pleasure and we reject pain. We avoid pain, we seek pleasure. That's because of these chemicals, because of dopamine and cortisol. Feels good. So we want more of that. So we don't want to, our bodies we're fighting our biology. I can't say it enough. We're fighting our brain and then we're fighting our biology. Now, the other part of this is language really does shape our reality. I mean, and if you listen to episode 68, which was a couple episodes ago, Mark Pansier and Mark from he's the CEO emeritus at the Pacific Institute, we talked about this. Language, our words create our world. So we have to be very selective in the words that we use because the words color reality. Because there's a big difference between these two statements. I am a failure versus I experienced a failure. Those have very different meanings and impacts. Because once I say I am a failure, that is a label. Labels are really hard to change. If I say I experienced a failure in this instant, that's an experience that we can change. We can't change a label. Labels are hard to change. And we do a disservice to people because sometimes, unfortunately, when we're young, we get labeled. And those labels stick, and they stick deep down inside of us. And because your brains internalize the words you choose. I mean, think about the difference. Think about the difference in this statement. One comes from a growth mindset. One comes from a fixed mindset. You can pick which one goes where. One is, I can't do this, versus, I haven't figured this out yet. Which one feels better? Now, I'm going to digress for a second because Brett, my producer, and I were just talking in the break, and sometimes it feels good to wallow. And I agree with you. It does. And we should from time to time. It's okay. The thing, I can't do this. Sometimes it feels good because what that does is it relieves us of responsibility and accountability for getting it done. Sometimes it just feels good to go, I can't do this. I give up. It feels good because now it's somebody else's problem, not ours. Now, what I'll tell you is, again, back to owning something. If you just own the fact that you want to wallow, okay, cool. We all need to do it every now and then. It feels good. I get it. Do it for 30 minutes. Wallow for 30 minutes. Blame the rest of the world for 30 minutes. Then get off your ass and do something. That's the only difference. Just don't wallow indefinitely. Don't wallow. Now I've said the word so many times it doesn't make sense anymore. But don't wallow around in this and use it as a go forward strategy because it's not. It doesn't work. If you speak about failure like a finality, then it is. If failure equates death to you, then that's what it is. So you will avoid it like the plague. But if it presents opportunity to you, if in your mindset, failure is a point of learning, you'll seek it out. So I would suggest that we fail on purpose. And by the way, failure is how we learn, and science backs this up. Because neuroplasticity proves that mistakes build stronger neural networks. We have science behind this, a functional MRI, PET scans, all that. Our growth comes from struggle, not from ease. It comes from discomfort, not comfort. And a growth mindset has 5.5 components. One is you believe that your intelligence can expand or develop. 2, you embrace challenges. 3, you will persist in the face of setbacks. 4, you see effort as a path to mastery. You see effort as a path to mastery. And 5, you learn from criticism. And then 5.5 is you actually find inspiration in the success of others. Now, I struggle myself with a couple of those. Number 5, learning from criticism. Not great with that one. Now, let me rephrase. I do learn from criticism. I just don't like it. I just don't like getting it in the moment. You know, we have a meeting and I ask everybody on a scale of 1 to 7. I just started this month on a scale of 1 to 7, and there's very specific, descriptions of 1 through 7. How do you rate the meeting? And I just sit there on pins and needles waiting. And I don't ask them to write it down. I ask them to say it out loud. And so they go around the room, and anybody who doesn't say 6 or 7, I get itchy. Right? I'm open to admitting that. I mean, I don't know of anybody who's like, that's awesome. I love getting a 2 out of 7. I don't think anybody likes it in the moment. We do seek it out and we like it because it will help us get better, but it doesn't feel good in the moment to say, yeah, you're pretty shitty. Like what you did today sucked. it happens to all of us, and it's unrealistic not to expect it, but it still doesn't make it feel better. So anyway, here's kind of the E3 approach to leaning into failure, the explore, experiment, evolve. So explore, confront the fear, go inside, figure it out. Where are you avoiding risk because you fear looking foolish? Ask yourself the question. Go investigate. Go explore this. And where are you softening your language around failure instead of naming it? Where are you letting yourself off the hook? Now, the experiment side is just, fail in small, controlled ways. Take small risks. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations deliberately. Watch how your brain reacts to failure and challenge the response. Talk yourself through it, because you have to be on guard against your brain. That's the thing. Your brain's just another organ. It'll do what you tell it to do. But it's the only one that's going to fight you the whole way. And it's simple but not easy. It takes a lot of effort. That's why you want to start small and build on your successes, because if we see success, small successes, then we'll get more dopamine. Back to that earlier discussion, more dopamine means more effort. So you want to start small because you can't overcome rejection after rejection, failure after failure after failure. Now, if you want to truly then get into the evolve part, it's reflect on your failure without judgment. Because you remember, there's three things we can't do if we're in judgment. We can't love, we can't lead, and we can't learn in judgment. So if we want to learn, we have to stay out of judgment. We can't beat ourselves up about failing and we're miserable and we're stupid and we'll never get this and all those negative things we tell ourselves, because in that state we'll never learn. But if we want to reflect on failures without judgment, then we can ask ourselves, what did I learn? Then how will I adjust? And how will I try again? Because I got to get back to it. And that's why I call them non-fatal failures are really important. We want to create opportunities for ourselves and those we care deeply about for non-fatal failures, because they're the secret to growth, the low risk, high reward learning opportunity. That's what a non-fatal failure is. So make sure that you're creating for yourself those opportunities for non-fatal failure. And then change the narrative. There's a lot of power in language. Go back earlier. It's like you can say, instead of saying, I'm no good at this, say, I'm not good at it yet, or I'll never figure this out. I haven't figured it out yet. Same message, very different language. So I'm not good at this versus I'm in the process of learning it. So yeah, both are true, but one feels a lot better than the other. Or I'll never figure this out to, hey, it's all just part of the experiment. That's why explore, experiment, evolve is really impactful and meaningful, because it gives you freedom. It releases pressure and anxiety. Because if I'm looking at everything I'm doing as an experiment, then I know failure's coming, and failure isn't failure, it's a data point. And data points help me learn. So I only get better the more I experiment. The more I experiment, the more I fail. And then finally, you have to overcome this myth of finality. Albert Camus said in The Myth of Sisyphus, the struggle itself towards the height is enough to fill a man's heart. The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart, because Sisyphus rolled that rock to the top of the hill and it was going to roll down every night. But that struggle to get it up to the top of the hill was enough to fill his heart, regardless of whether it came back down or not. Because you're never finished, you're just evolving. And so the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. So we got to turn failure into fuel. Because resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about using it as a tool to get better. If you want to be relentless, you must become anti-fragile. And that means you're going to benefit from shock. You don't want to be strong. The opposite of fragile. Fragile can't resist shock. Strong resist shock. Anti-fragile benefit from shock. Like our nervous system, our immune system. Our nervous system does too, to a point. But our muscles get stronger the more they're exposed to shock and stress. Our immune system gets stronger the more it's introduced to shock and stress. So we want to build ourselves to do that same thing, because that works. Because stress, those things are coming whether we like them or not. Those stressors are coming. Shock is coming, whether we want it to or not. We have not, we are not now, and we're never going to be in control of what comes at us through the world. It is unpredictable and uncontrollable. So what we can do is build ourselves into being anti-fragile so we benefit from those shocks to the system. And we have a principle that we act into being because that rewires your brain. You don't become resilient by thinking about resilience. You can't think your way into a new way of acting. You have to act your way into a new way of being. So we become resilient by acting it out. We become resilient by being resilient. The best example, and you can actually, I could put it in the show notes, or you can just Google it. The movie Evan Almighty with Steve Carell. There's a scene in that where his wife, who has left him now because he's building the boat, he's going to be Noah. He's building a boat. So his wife leaves him, takes the kids. They're stopping on the way to, I think they're going to her mother's house, and they stop at a restaurant. The kids are off somewhere, and the wife's sitting there pretty dejected and demoralized. And Morgan Freeman, who plays God in the show, is her waiter. So he comes up as her server and says, "Hey, you look kind of down. Can I, what's going on?" So she starts talking, and his response always stuck with me as just amazing. And I am getting all the way around the barn to why I brought this up for this last point. And it's because he says, and I remember this one, he says, if we pray for patience, does God give us patience, or does he give us the opportunity to be patient? And he said, the other one was, he says, if we pray for more family time, does he give us more family time, or does he give us more opportunity to be together as a family? That's it. We don't get things because we don't get resilient because we want resilience. We get resilient by practicing being resilient, by being put in situations where we must be resilient. Those are positions of failure. We have to seek out failure to learn how to be resilient, to learn how to get up after we fall down. You don't teach somebody how to ride a bike and protect them from never falling. They have to fall. It's human nature to fall. It's not about falling. It's about getting back up. It's about having the will to get back up. It's about having the belief and the self-efficacy to get back up. Falling's irrelevant. But can you get back up? But you can't learn to get back up if you don't fall. So when you talk about this, language is important, right? When you fail, your response shapes what happens next. If you say, "Hey, this is proof that I'm not good enough, I'll never get this," then you retreat into fear. If you say, "This is a data point, I'm going to learn from this, now I know what not to do," that's growth and resilience. The way you talk to yourself matters. So we'll close out by talking about the fact that the relentless few don't fear failure. They chase it. And again, I fail often and gloriously. And that's why I'm better today than yesterday. And I don't mean better in a sense of comparison. I mean better because I've learned from what I did yesterday and I'm working on doing it differently tomorrow. The only failure is really not showing up. And if you're failing, that's good because it means you're in the game. The only chance you get to fail is if you're in the game. So the question I have for you is what language will you choose around failure for yourself? Will you let it define you or refine you? Will you let it define you or refine you? And that's all based on the language that you used. So stop hiding from failure, start using it. Identify one place in your life where fear of failure is keeping you small and lean into it because you're not small. That's not what you were put here to do. You weren't put here on this earth to play small. Pay attention to the words you use about yourself and your struggles. Give yourself some grace. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your child. Talk to yourself like you would talk to any loved one. Talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. And if you wouldn't use that language with your friend or your family, then don't use it with yourself. Ask yourself, what did I fail at today and what did I learn? Every day, what went well, what didn't go well, what would I do differently? So, fail, learn, evolve, repeat. Most people will run from failure, but the relentless few, they chase it because they know the only real failure is refusing to play the game. So the question is, are you one of the relentless few? Or are you still waiting for permission to fail? I will see you next time if you're willing to rise back up. In the meantime, take care of yourself, Focus on creating a better world for those that you care deeply about, and be well.